Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lawrence, and this is my fellow compere, James. We are here to take you through the extravaganza of trashing created by our pupils during our own challenge week. Firstly, before the proper models arrive.
What do you mean, proper models? I am a proper model.
Like I was saying, before the proper models grace us with their spectacular presence, I would like to explain our attire, mine being the sparkliest of them all, which is made of old CDs.
Old CDs? Do you mean to say your father knows that his David Bowie and Pink Floyd CD has formed part of your jacket?
Tin foil and streamers. This little beauty, as you can see, was designed and made by Taylor Lee and Amelia Lowe. My exquisite hat, which I've left off stage, was created by Domino pizza boxes made by George Crispin and all girls of Lupton representing the fashion house.
My costume resembles that of a party outfit and was constructed by Katie Haywood and Gleb Nubsden using the leftover elements from a Saturday night social and the streamers that were left over from our performance of Joseph.
Ladies and gentlemen, we give you our collection of trash and take it away, boys. college dress, embellished out of CDs, newspaper, made by Francesca Schaefer, 16 Cabra Wiltzer. She's also on wearing a striking Audrey Hepburn-style hat, made out of a large tin can, CDs, cardboard, and this beautiful exhibit was constructed by Purdy Blackwell and Katie Hay.
Felix Lowe, donning a body armor-inspired piece made out of Amazon packaging, including cardboard boxes and brown paper and bubble wrap. Not only is he a talented model, he is also the artist supported by his fellow Year 9 peers, the legends that are Tessa Smith and Lulu Wisner.
The stunning Lucy West, her red corset made out of Walker's crisp packets and newspaper Tootsie. Her necklace is made out of broken mirror and the clutch bag, cardboard packaging. This ensemble was made by the Year 12 pupils in the fashion house that is Robertson.
Packaging gives us so much waste. Maybe we should consume less and spend time recycling instead. Ava Hannafin looks a knockout in a dress. Is made of sweet wrappers and brown parcel paper with a headdress constructed out of cuts of wire and tissue paper. Made by the fashion house of Caris, Erica Overend and Jolly Holt.
The striking Shauna McCarthy models a dress that possesses boldness. Layering this little beauty has been constructed of packaging, tissue paper, and the poppy embellishments are created from the polystyrene that keeps fruit in place within their crates. This was made by Rose Martin, Maddie Hendry, and Holly Dale.
Lily Ismail is wearing old jeans that have been revived and brought back to life by her best friend, Tara Sanangjot. The Semper School-inspired cons were all handmade by Elizabeth Wang, Stephen Chung, and Kevin Gao.
Jess Nibs is wearing a skirt made out of cardboard, brown paper, plastic bottles, old wire, and magazine flowers. She's sporting shoes made out of newspaper, cardboard, and offcuts of fabric, carefully and beautifully constructed by the Caris House twins, Rebecca McGowan and Araminta McGowan.
I hear they also create a fabulous range of croquet attire. Shoes made by Elizabeth Wang, Kevin Gao, and Stephen Chung. George Sanderson is wearing a recycled piece of corduroy and a scarf made of snippets of fabric that have been carefully stitched together, made by Amelia Lowe and Purdy Blackwell.
Tessa Smith is modeling the carry bag, embellished in newspaper and recycled paper.
Not just any carry bag. The co-op offer environmentally friendly, compostable carrier bags.
Like I was saying, a carry bag. Her hairdress is made out of plastic bottles, giving a summer-esque vibe. Made by Charlie Hooper and Elizabeth Wang. The festival headband has been designed and created by Glenn Houston out of Coca-Cola bottles. Okay.
The vision that is Tanatsu Tagare is wearing a wedding dress made out of plastic bottles, offcuts of old fabrics, and discarded buttons. Constructed by Amara Sylvester, Lulu Ismail, Stephen Chung, six-time Kate Wiltzer, and Francesca Schaefer. The headdress was masterminded by Katie Hayward. Of course, it wouldn't be a fashion show without a wedding dress. All the major fashion houses have included wedding attire in their shows, and ours at Sedbergh should be no different.
And last but not least, we have the voluptuous wolf pipers. Shooting, made of glass, tinfoil, and old buttons. Ladies and gentlemen, this now brings us to a close. Please remember to rethink how you use everyday things to save the planet. All materials that I've seen today have been ethically sourced. We hope that you've enjoyed the show and remember to stay green and save the planet. Take it away, boys!
principal has just said to me, follow that. But I think they do deserve another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Honoured guests, principal, headmaster, ladies and gentlemen, Sedberghians. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Speech Day 2019, and in many ways to set the agenda for the next 90 minutes. Last year, this was a momentous event as we opened the Hirst Centre. This year is no less significant as Dan Harrison, headmaster, presents for the first time. And we welcome the General Manager of Education of the Rong Chau Group, Ma Chi Jiang, to Sedbergh for his first visit. At home, we're all aware of the difficult political and economic climate in the UK, yet some things are unchanging. Sedbergh's core values are timeless and global. It gives me great satisfaction to record the school has celebrated another excellent year in the classroom, on the pitch and on the stage. We congratulate those who win prizes and perform today and acknowledge the special strength of our community. As we see this success translating to our new school in China, the Rong Chau Sedbergh School, which has just completed its first year of operation, Sedberghian education presents a global opportunity, and we are pleased that 6 of our leavers will join the 300 pupils at Rong Chau in September to learn Mandarin and teach. We hope many more will follow their lead, and heading in the opposite direction will be 66 pupils from that school who will join our international summer school here in August. Success drives success, but we take nothing for granted. Parental advocacy is key to our reputation, and I offer my personal thanks for your constant enthusiasm for and promotion of the school. Without that support, we would not be returning to a full school in September. This year, the board and the school's leadership team prepared our next strategic plan to cover the period 2019 to 2025, when the school celebrates its quincentenary. The plan has now received formal board approval. The principal will talk shortly about the major elements of the plan, which is an ambitious plan for a confident school. Many people work tirelessly in support of the school. The Sedbergh School Foundation continues to raise money in many ways, in particular for Roger Lupton scholarships and capital projects. It too is preparing its fundraising strategy for the period 19 to 25. The board is enormously grateful for their work. On the morning of the 11th of November last year, the whole Sedbergh School community came together in a most moving service to commemorate the 100-year anniversary of the end of the Great War. A war in which 258 Sedberghians and masters of the school gave their lives. Earlier in the year, the OS Club had completed its pilgrimage to visit every grave of those 258 men. It has been a remarkable journey, which I have been privileged to be a part. The school owes a huge debt of gratitude to the club and its officers. At the conclusion of our service on the 11th of November, the club lit a casket containing consecrated soil taken from the battlefields of Mons, Gallipoli, the Somme, Le Cateau and Passchendaele. It sits at the side of the flagpole at the foot of cloisters. Your sons and daughters benefit hugely from the staff who teach them day to day and from the staff who care for them in the boarding houses. I am delighted to acknowledge my thanks to them on behalf of my board. As I said earlier in my address, this has been another year of significant success and achievement for Sedbergh School under the outstanding leadership of Andrew Fleck and his team of Dan Harrison, Peter Marshall and Will Newman. The board is delighted with all you achieve on our behalf. Thank you for listening, and I hope we all enjoy a great summer break. Floriat Sedbergh.
On an original draft of the programme, there had been a mistake, and my name was next to Eden to do that item with her. I thought we'd clear that up. Chairman, Principal, Bursar, guests, parents, Sedberghians, I would like to offer my welcome and begin by offering my welcome and thanks to the two Old Sedberghian prize givers who have come back. And congratulations on an excellent project, of which you will hear more later. Of the two, I know Jack Wood the best. 25 years ago, I arrived as a very young member of staff here at Sedbergh, as the resident tutor in Pole House. Jack was captain of rugby in the upper six, and it was a very lively year group. The school was a different place then. I am not sure who is more surprised, me that Jack is back presenting the prizes, or Jack that I am on stage as the headmaster. I will begin with a quick overview of the year and pick out a few highlights. I apologise if I miss out a few things. It has been such an incredibly busy year. I'll begin with academics. The recent term has been dominated in many respects by public examinations. Pupils in Year 11 sitting their GCSEs, in Year 13 focusing on their final A-levels and BTECs. Libraries, house studies and rooms across the school have been filled with minds whirring and brains expanding, and the dedication and hard work has been exceptional. That's what my Director of Studies tells me anyway. Other year groups have also spent the final few weeks preparing for and sitting their end-of-term exams, but academic life at Sedbergh is so much more than these final assessment periods. And throughout the year, the school calendar has been filled with a huge range of student-led academic societies. Crucially, our value-added score, how much we improve each pupil by, puts us in the top 10% of the country, a stat of which we're very, very proud. On the stage, we've had lots of outstanding productions, including A Midsummer Night's Dream and Joseph. We are so lucky to have Cathy Want at the helm. And as a first, we had a community performance of Joseph for the local primary schools, and some of the more elderly Sedbergh residents developing our work as part of the Sedbergh Gives Back programme. I'll return to that later. Musically, we've enjoyed a superb year, with more pupils than ever performing one or more of the dozens of concerts and performances. It's been brilliant to see no fewer than 40 new soloists since January. There has been a huge range, from the large-scale concerts in Pole Hall, such as A Night in the USA, Jazz and Swing, the Wilson Run concert, and the very special Concert of Remembrance that our chairman just mentioned. A question I have asked myself, and you may have done the same, is how would we have reacted if we had been in those trenches? A number of our choristers are part of the National Youth Choir setup, which is a testament to the very high standard of our own chapel choir, and we wish them luck as they depart for the United States on Monday, where they will enjoy a tour that takes in Boston, New York and Washington. In the outdoor pursuits world, in adventure activities, Year 10 have been in, on and under the fells and lakes every Monday, as well as many things going on every Thursday afternoon. As always, some pupils find a different way of doing things. If we just look at the top right of that picture, I'm not sure which Sedberghian values Hugo's friend is showing at his misfortune. Duke of Edinburgh, over 100 pupils have been busily working towards their Gold and Silver Awards, and many Year 13s have successfully completed their Gold Awards already, which they will collect or have collected from Buckingham Palace. Our voluntary service and conservation programmes go from strength to strength. We are determined to give more back. This is something I care passionately about. We are all very lucky here at Sedbergh. and we all benefit hugely by helping others or the environment. I am delighted that we have increased what we have done fourfold on last year and had pupils in local primary schools, centres for the elderly, with adults with learning disabilities, childcare, sports coaching, charity shops, Tanzania conservation, local conservation, the list goes on. As a modern-day Scrooge, I cancelled house trips in the last week of the Michaelmas term, and the 9 houses tackled 9 different projects in a truly incredible way. In some ways, this was the best day of the year, in hospitals, churches, day centres, and various environmental projects. And we've just completed Challenge Week, where a number of community projects were successfully completed. The whole school is getting involved in the newly launched pupil-led Eco Sedbergh. During my time here, I have never seen a society start with such energy and enthusiasm. And we had over 60 pupils in the first meeting who want to do their bit to safeguard the environment for themselves, for their children, and their children. This is the theme for today, from our prize winners, from the Flip Floppy project, to the costumes you have just seen made from recycled material. Moving on to sport, we were delighted with the changes we made this year to the Wilson Run. The Sedbergh Global Run video had more views, 70,000, than any other Sedbergh video before. As always, it's as much about the preparation and doing the epics and qualifying days as the day itself. Here, Sedberghian values of humility, ambition, resilience, and kindness are all shown in abundance. You have also got to know where the bogs are. On the rugby pitches, we could not have had more success. We had another unbeaten season with the first team and were Daily Mail Trophy winners for the second year in a row. We retained the National Sevens title at Rosslyn Park, the Open, the hardest one to win, and we won our own National Tens for the 3rd season in a row. Our first team cricketers narrowly lost the national final last Sunday to Malvern, and our under-15s have qualified for the national final in September. On the shooting front, it seems a while since we cleaned up at Bisley, winning the Ashburton Shield for the first time in 21 years, and as we prepare to defend the title in a few days. We are the only school in the country that has GB representatives at every level. Our hockey highlight was our under-14 girls who were national hockey finalists at the Olympic Park. And in netball, we were district champions at all age groups. Our athletes have had their most successful season ever, and our girls are not with us. They are presently representing the school in the National Schools Championships against the best 12 schools in the country. Not bad for a school of 210 girls. Equestrian-wise, we've had national finalists in all disciplines in a sport that goes from strength to strength. I do not have enough time to talk about all of the individual performances. I will pick out just a few from the levers. Taylor Maguire won the National Fives Under-18 Championship down at St Paul's. It was the first time Sedbergh had won it for 25 years. Rhiannon Piper won 2 Open Gold Taekwondo medals. Will Hayden Wood played for England under-20s at rugby. Cricketer George Hill represented England under-19s. He is presently their vice-captain and was voted Young All-Rounder of the Year. And golfer Archie Davis, incredibly, has been selected in the Provisional Walker Cup, that's the Amateur Ryder Cup, squad to take on the USA in September, and of course to Mickey and Tinky Crossley and Faith Barnes for completing the body challenge in true Sedberghian tradition. And in all of that, we were voted Independent Sports School of the Year. As always, at this time of year, we say goodbye to a small number of staff. Our very, very best wishes go to Brian Williams, who retires after many years in the chemistry department, chapel warden, master in charge of fishing, and iconic central tutor. Steve Cooling also retires as head of geography. The good news is that Steve will still be around to take his superb photos, which you've seen a lot today. Susan Doherty, our Queen of Jazz and Swing, has been associated with us for 30 years. She will fortunately still be around as a peripatetic teacher. Chris Swainson will be missed hugely as a physics teacher, brilliant rugby coach, head of Year 10 and all-round polymath. He joins Epsom College. Dominic Kidney has taught RS and Agriculture here for 2 years. Good luck, Dominic, at your school in Liverpool. Wendy Swan has done a brilliant job of head of MFL here, and we wish her all the best in the future. Vicky Otterburn has been an integral part of the Learning Support Department, as well as coaching netball and house tutoring. We wish her all the best at Repton. Louisa Adcock has been a successful member of the MFL department for the last 2 years. She joins Russell School. And we say goodbye to Marianne Yacoub, who has worked tirelessly in the music department this year. To all of our leavers, thank you very much. I will now go slightly off the tangent. We are a fast-paced school, and we are celebrating lots born out of that today. However, sometimes do we go too fast to appreciate things around us? Occasionally, do we need to pause, whether we are at the top of a hill or in the middle of a mad turn? Perhaps we all need to stop and look around. And perhaps we need to think a little more about others and about our planet. A man sat at a metro station in Washington, D.C. and started to play the violin. It was a cold January morning. He played 6 Bach pieces for about 45 minutes. During that time, since it was rush hour, it was calculated that thousands of people went through the station, most of them on the way to work. 3 minutes went by and a middle-aged man noticed there was a musician playing. He slowed his pace and stopped for a few seconds and then hurried up to meet his schedule. A minute later, the violinist received his first $1 tip. A woman threw the money in the till without stopping and continued to walk. She was clearly late for work. The one who paid the most attention was a 3-year-old boy. Finally, the mother pushed hard and the child continued to walk, turning his head all the time. This action was repeated by several other children. All the parents, without exception, forced them to move on. In the 45 minutes the musician played, only 6 people stopped and stayed for a while. About 20 gave him money but continued to walk at their normal pace. He collected $32. When he finished playing and the silence took over, no one noticed it, no one applauded, nor was there any recognition. No one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the best musicians in the world. He had played one of the most intricate pieces ever written on a violin worth $3.5 million. 2 days before he was playing in the subway, Joshua Bell sold out a theatre in Boston, with the seats averaging well over $100 each. This was organised by the Washington Post as part of a social experiment. One of the possible conclusions for this experiment could be, if we do not have a moment to stop and listen to one of the world's best musicians, playing the best music ever written, how many other things are we missing? And are we going too fast to realise the damage that we are doing to our planet? So to finish, a few thank yous to the head of school, the deputy head of school, and the school prefects. I could not have asked more. To my senior management team, the common room, and all staff here at Sedbergh, especially the brilliant team of Amanda, Janet, my wonderful PA, and Olivia in the office, a huge thank you. We've come a long way in the last few years, and I'm very fortunate to build on Andrew Fleck's fantastic foundations and to have him next door for valuable advice. Gone are the days of people not knowing about Sedbergh School. As you know, this week we successfully hosted our first ever first-class cricket match. We are looking after the England netball team here in September for their pre-season training. And linking with our theme, I am delighted that next spring we hope to be hosting an inaugural Schools Environmental Awards here in Sedbergh. A very heartfelt goodbye to our brilliant Upper Six. To you and to your parents, you will always be part of Sedbergh School. Please come back and see us soon. Here, it is not about facilities, although we are very proud of the buildings we have. Here, it is not about statistics. We care more about individual results than overall percentages. Here, it is not about pretentiousness or a sense of entitlement. Here, it is about humility, ambition, resilience, and crucially, kindness. Here, it is about people. Eton may have her river and Clifton her down, but I feel very, very lucky and privileged to be headmaster of this incredible school. Have a lovely summer. Florian Sedbergh.
One morning I bumped into Graham, one of our joiners. "Hello, headmaster." "Ah, you're not headmaster." "Prince, what is it?" "I can't get used to it." "How are you, mate?" he said to me. And I rather agree with him. It's not easy to get used to. Weeks later, at lunch with Year 11 in Evans. "So what do you do?" I reeled off well-rehearsed lines about being responsible for the quality of education and pastoral care in 3 centre schools, that I act as mentor to headmasters, managing the market team, and plan, develop and execute future developments. There was a pause. "So you're..." I was expecting chief executive. "Ornamental." Well, I have to say that after the performances you've just seen this afternoon, then I do feel rather ornamental. You can tell that a school is doing something right when those who are speaking on the stage are completely upstaged and outshone by their pupils. What a fantastic tribute to the school. Chairman, Headmaster, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to speak at Speech Day. This is the culmination of a year during which Sedberghians have achieved the highest levels in academia, sport, the arts, and more than ever, contributing to the lives of others. Now relieved from the tyranny of reviewing the detention list and house menus, preparing for morning assembly and routine meetings, I have more time to appreciate the extraordinary range of participation and achievement of our staff and pupils. So at the outset, I offer you my deepest thanks for the privilege to work with your sons and daughters, and to add my own words of congratulations to those of the chairman, to our pupils and staff for all that you have achieved. But I hope you will forgive me. My warmest thanks and congratulations are reserved for the headmaster. I dare to suggest that I was the only person who knew what Dan Harrison was taking on in September. And since then, he has led the school to new heights, and no one could be more delighted than I. I offer him my wholehearted thanks and professional acknowledgement for all that he has achieved and will do so in the future. Much of my work has been with Peter Marshall, our Chief Operating Officer, and between us we share responsibility for oversight of all aspects of school operations, for defining and constructing the direction of our school's development. I could not be more fortunate to work so closely with such an insightful and also questioning colleague. He is utterly dedicated to the school and inspires his teams. And it's been a fascinating, challenging, and at sometimes unnerving year. We have sought to answer the question, how may we thrive in the midst of chaos? And we have responded to Simon Sinek's TED Talk, The Power of Why, which demands that we ask the question, why is a Sedbergh education important? Our answer to that is that our role is to change lives. But Sedbergh was not founded in 1525 to promote individual opportunity. Rather, to promote social justice, to raise up those with little and to diminish inequality. As Sedberghians, whether we be pupils, parents, teachers or governors, ours is surely a lifelong mission to improve our families, communities and our countries. Hundreds of alumni have followed that path, and I hold up to you the example of Lord Bingham of Cornhill, Master of the Rolls and the most influential constitutional lawyer of the last 100 years. We have pursued that aim modestly, quietly and effectively for generations. But our country's current ideological debate requires that we make our voice heard amidst the process of political refreshment. Social inequality, nationalism and global warming are the existential threats of our time. Short-termism, founded on political expediency and financial opportunism, is the root. And as we reflect on the centenary of the Treaty of Versailles and the approach of the 75th anniversary of VE Day next May, I put it to you that we are now called to make a sacrifice equal to those who went before us. Sedbergh and Sedberghians cannot stand on the sidelines. Our responsibility surely is to engage directly with the political process, and our character prepares us for a lifetime of activism. Alongside social challenge, the environmental crisis we face is as daunting as the conflict our forebears faced in 2 world wars. But perhaps it's even more difficult, because we are high-order consumers, and we are both the cause and an important part of the solution. Only we can answer the question, what will I give up for the greater good? What will we leave those who follow? We have sought to answer those questions. And perhaps that answer lies in redefining success as being the individual's contribution to society and of individual creativity in place of material acquisition. I suggest this outlook will serve our children better than any consumerism, and that it is entirely in keeping with the Sedberghian culture and traditions. And as an organisation, we must answer the same questions. It's been a debate, as you have heard, that I and the school governors have engaged in for much of the year. These men and women contribute immeasurably to our work and this school's success. And I want to offer them my special thanks, and in particular to Hugh Blair, Chairman, and Richard Gledhill, Vice Chairman, who between them travel the length of the country on the school's behalf and even around the world. They invest hundreds and hundreds of hours on our school's welfare, and Sedbergh would not be where it is today without them. The strategic plan which our governors have approved is as bold a commitment to future generations as that which led to the construction of our major school buildings in the 1870s, when Frederick Heppenstall was headmaster. Responding to surveys, we have placed the development of teaching and independent learning at the heart of our ambitions, and will invest in our pupils' technological skills, focusing on their application to employment opportunities and environmental sustainability. This will go hand in hand with the development of a new technology and sixth form centre. We will review our carbon footprint and invest in its reduction through extensive house refurbishment, by reviewing our transport and purchasing arrangements. We'll invest further in the emotional health of our pupils to ensure they are best placed to manage complex lifestyles, and we will increase our work in the town to promote Sedbergh as a place for young families and new businesses. We will continue to welcome pupils and colleagues and families from different backgrounds and all nations, in the knowledge that diversity strengthens our community. And we'll extend our partnerships overseas so that we may provide opportunities for pupils and teachers to travel and work, and to build financial resilience against the economic uncertainties of the future. We will ensure that governance is connected with parents, pupils and staff to ensure transparency of decisions and accountability in all respects. This includes publication of our plan at the start of next term and annual reports to parents and staff about progress on these and other important matters. But we cannot discharge our responsibilities to the next and subsequent generations without the collective engagement of pupils, parents, staff, governors and all Sedberghians. As the 500th anniversary of Roger Lupton's extraordinary foundation approaches, every single member of our community is important. I hope, beyond measure, that you will embrace these ambitions as your own to ensure that every one of us plays our part in our children's futures and the generations of Sedberghians that follow. Thank you very much. Now, for many years I invited a guest speaker to prize giving. 2 years ago I broke that tradition and invited two. Dan Harrison has gone further and invited three. Who knows how crowded this stage will be next year. Glenn Morrison, Simon Scott Harden and Jack Wood were pupils at Sedbergh between 1989 and 1994. Between them, they came second in the Wilson Run, captain of the first 15, and since schools, they have built careers as entrepreneurs, university lecturers, and as a yacht skipper. However, it was their shared interest in environmental action that brought them back together and to us today. The Flippy Floppy Dow project. It's just a great name, isn't it? I wish I'd invented it. And I'm just going to indulge myself by saying it. The Flippy Floppy Dow project. The dhow is 10 metres long and weighs 7 tonnes. It was built on Lamu in Kenya from plastic waste found on local beaches and other areas. The dhow and her crew raise awareness of ocean pollution in order to stimulate people to reduce environmental impact through using less plastic. Their website has a reach of 850 million people, and 1.2 million people follow their social media accounts. 100 media outlets carry their story, which is translated into 30 languages. This is an extraordinary environmental project. The deeply flawed genius, Hunter S. Thompson, wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and he also created gonzo journalism. I think he would have enjoyed Sedbergh and approved of what we do, and particularly of our guest speakers, writing, "Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, 'Wow, what a ride!'" Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome our guest speakers from the Flippy Floppy Project, Ben Morrison and Jack Wood.
Thank you, Principal, for that incredible introduction. I do feel that you've probably done most of my speech already. Very kind of you. Headmaster, Principal, many thanks for the opportunity to speak today. It really is genuinely a privilege to come back and share this adventure with you. With you, the governors, teachers, parents, and most importantly for us, you students. Some of you might remember 3 years ago, Ben and myself coming to chapel. It was a time well before Blue Planet 2, and the term single-use plastic was reserved for environmentalists and eco-warriors. We chatted about this great big plan. We're going to collect some rubbish, we're going to build a boat, we're going to sail it down the coast of Africa, and we're going to talk to people about how important this plastic commodity is, and that it should be reused and not wasted. It's very easy now to tell you that that was all lots of enthusiasm, a complete lack of structure, preparation plan, or anything else that should go with a project of this scale. In fact, we came to tell you about something we had no idea how to accomplish. But we were fortunate, just like all you guys here. We'd been to Sedbergh, and we possessed, still to this day, some of those classic Sedbergh traits. Confidence, determination, grit, disorganisation, and zero strategy. I suspect that the last two applies much more to our era than it does now. It is, however, amazing what you can achieve with this combination of qualities. Now, we're going to tell you our story. It's not a lecture on ocean pollution, or doing good, or about single-use plastic. It's really about being bold. It's about being brave. It's about seeing what happens when you put yourself out there.
So back in April 2017, I walked out of that Sedbergh assembly, and I felt anxious, sick to the pit of my stomach. I hadn't a clue about boat building. I didn't know anything about fundraising, not much about sailing, and I didn't have a plan. I just had this in my head: big ideas, big dreams. And having spent all of my working life organising holidays to beaches like this, and walking 500 metres around the corner and seeing beaches like this, it made me feel, well, outraged and a little bit responsible too, because I thought about it, and that was the single-use plastic I'd used that very same day. That was my plastic, not somebody else's. Owning that feeling of responsibility gave me conviction. Maybe I didn't have a plan, but somehow I knew that my plastic Dow dream was possible. And let me tell you, conviction has real power. It's sexy, it's attractive. It pulls people in. It pulled in Ali Skanda, a master boat builder from Lamu in Kenya. And then it pulled in this energy ball called Katharina, an industrial design engineer from Germany. It pulled in David and Tara, here in the audience today from Sedbergh. And now with still no real plan, we had a team. Conviction, you see. And then it pulled in these guys. Here we go. Conviction had got me to here. Sugar. Still no plan. And the UN were involved. So, one foot in front of the other, we set about it. How? Well, we got 50 volunteers, we headed down to the beach, and in 3 hours, we had 5.8 tons of plastic. We collected and cleaned it, sorted it and shredded it, and then we melted it and we molded it. And look at the result. Beautiful parts of a dhow ready to be assembled by our waiting team of boat builders. High fives all round. This boat building thing is easy, I thought. But back at the boatyard, things weren't quite so rosy. Disaster. There were big bubbles in every single piece and cracks as well. We were gutted. We brushed ourselves down and we started again. And failed again. Actually, we tried and failed an extraordinary amount of time. A whole year's worth of failure. A continuous traffic jam of fails, building up one behind each other. All of them eating away at my self-confidence and the very conviction that got us here. This was my get out moment. The easy exit. Remember this slide, because all of us, whenever we are brave enough to try things, will have a moment when the going gets tough. And it's how you react to that moment that will define you and what you go on to achieve. For us, we stuck at it and we were off. Suddenly we didn't fail. And part by part, waste from that Lamu beach, probably thrown out of a window in a small town in China, washed into a river, down into the sea, into the ocean on the currents that connect us all, was being turned into an awesome boat. But then the magic happened. During our cleanups, it became abundantly clear that the single most common culprit, yep, you guessed it, was the common flip-flop. Everyone in this room, I'm sure, owns a pair. In fact, 3 billion people on planet Earth own flip-flops. And we found many of them ended up here, on this beach in Lamu. So, step forward, Benson. Benson is a flip-floppy fundi. So Benson cut, sliced, glued, sanded, and washed some panels. And before we knew it, the dhow had transformed. Now we were talking. We found a way to make people smile. From a smile, you can take people with you. Then, being social media followers first, then real actual visitors, then the BBC came, then CNN, then Sky, and of course, politicians after that. Everyone started to sit up and take notice of our simple message about single-use plastic not making much sense. So now we had the world's first ever recycled plastic dhow, and she was ready for an expedition. But that expedition very nearly didn't happen.
So 4 days before we were due to set sail on flip-flopping, Ben called me up. He said, "Jack, can you look after the security aspect of this expedition?" Like, Ben, it's 4 days away. So I presumed it was a bit of a non-job, and I said, "Yes, Ben, absolutely no problem. Glad to help out." Very sadly, the next day, Al-Shabaab attacked a hotel in Nairobi and killed 25 innocent people. Now, please bear in mind, this is now a UN-sponsored mission, and we're leaving 10 miles south of Somalia, Al-Shabaab's main residence. I gave Ben a very speedy phone call. I asked if he would reconsider my new appointment. He said no. He said, "Get on with it. The expedition was on the line, and I had to ensure that the UN did not pull the plug." So after more than 2 years of building, failing, succeeding, dreaming about this project, the UN and the Kenyan Maritime Authority put us on hold 2 days before departure. The whole crew flew out regardlessly to Lamu, not knowing whether there would be an expedition or not. I negotiated with the UN over the next 48 hours, and eventually, on the proviso that we changed our first stop, and that they provided an armed escort for the first 200 kilometres, which was basically this sort of gun shed, with machine guns forward and aft, and 4 very terrifying Kenyan commandos that they would allow us to set off the next morning. Under the cover of darkness on 4 a.m. on January the 12th, 18 virtual strangers boarded flip-flopping and sneaked out into the Indian Ocean to attempt a historic world first, to sail 500 kilometres from Lamu to Zanzibar on a boat made entirely from rubbish. Every creek for the first 6 hours of that 16-hour day were bum-clenchingly terrifying. not knowing for sure whether the boat would sink, and therefore be adding to exactly the same problem that we were trying to highlight. It's very difficult to describe the trip to anyone. You had to be there really to experience it. It's very humbling, joyful, exciting and ultimately rewarding. We had over 5,000 people through the boat over the course of 8 events on its way to Zanzibar, which included workshops, roadshows and presentations in the evening. There was an OS on the boat, as the principal alluded to, a slightly crazy professor from Newcastle called Simon Scott Harden, who had built a number of devices for sampling the existence of microplastics in the Indian Ocean. So our days were spent doing science, navigation, sailing, and learning about the Quran from our Muslim crewmates. It was simply amazing to see all of the hard effort and work being seen at grassroots level on the beaches where we had collected the waste to build this beautiful dam. However, it is all well and good having a jolly sailing trip in the Indian Ocean. But this mission was not just about awareness, it was about change, about big change, about making an impact. Ben?
Yes, Jack.
Did we make an impact?
Yes, Jack, we made quite a stir. Here are some examples of real, lasting impact that the flip-floppy helped to catalyse. So within 3 months of the expedition, Zanzibar banned plastic bags. The boat was put on the back of a lorry, taken up to Nairobi, and was at the centrepiece of the United Nations Environment Assembly, with Presidents Macron, Kenyatta of Kenya, and hundreds of global business and political leaders all visiting. Then, Tanzania banned plastic bags earlier this year. And shortly after, our boat builder, Ali Skanda, received Kenya's highest civilian honour. Here's a photograph of Ali with the Kenyan president. And this is the same president that 2 months later announced a complete ban on all single-use plastic in Kenya's national parks, forests and beaches. This is not a coincidence. Then Mombasa closed this, the second biggest open dump site in Kenya. And the Times hailed the flip-floppy as creating Africa's blue planet moment. In all, a UN Commission report determined that 890 million people had been exposed to our simple, fun story and its important message. All this with a little boat. Imagine what impact we could make when we build a bigger boat that can sail around the world.
We just want to finish this talk by saying that this isn't just about our dream and our journey. The environment at large and the oceans in particular belong to you. Not just you, but your children, students. This will happen at some point, and we need to look after our oceans to ensure the future for these guys. Our decisions today and tomorrow and the next day about how we interact with plastic will have serious consequences for this environment.
Jack, myself and the flip-floppy crew hope that our adventures will inspire you to be brave enough to venture off the beaten track, to take a risk or two, even if you don't have a plan. Because I assure you there'll always be positives, sometimes unintended consequences of being bold. I'll leave you with one massive one that happened to me. I never knew my Ethiopian father, never met him, had no idea if he's even alive. As a direct consequence of the flip-floppy project and the media exposure we generated, he found me. So for me personally, what started as a madcap plan to build the world's first recycled plastic boat ended up with not just a boat, but a new father and sister. You just never know what might happen. Thank you all for listening.
to Ben and to Jack for your inspirational words on something so very relevant to Sedberghians in 2019. We are genuinely honoured to have you as our prize givers today. Prize winners of 2019. Junior prizes. The Year 9 prize for art, Toby Welsh. The Year 9 prize for CCF, Sophia Engel. The Year 10 prize for CCF, Samuel Samuel. Year 10 prize for Humanities, Sarah Rorison, and the Felix Dowson Essay Prize for Classics, Lucy West. Year 9 prize for Languages, Joseph Nolan, and the Year 10 prize for Languages, Inga Harmson. Year 9 prize for Mathematics, Eric Zhang and David Zhang. The Year 10 prize for Mathematics, Tom Zhang. And the Year 10 prize for Science, James Griffin. Year 9 General Studies Project Prize, Archie Callahan, and the Year 10 Craig General Knowledge Prize, James Thompson. The Laird Cup is awarded to a Year 9 pupil for all-round performance in their first year. This year's recipient is consistently in the top 5 in the school for their average effort score, holds the joint highest number of merits in Year 9. In the music hall, he leads the wind quintet, sings with the choir, is an excellent flautist. He starred in A Midsummer Night's Dream and Joseph. On the sports pitch, he is an outstanding tennis player and was a quarter-finalist in the National Fives competition. This year, the Laird Cup is awarded to Archie Glover. Senior prizes of 2019. The Alexander English Travel Award, Purdy Blackwell and Ilili Ishmael. The Bruce Lockhart Prize for Art, Matthew Mitchell. DCF Prize, David Fox. Senior Prize for Classics, the Heppenstall English Essay Prize, and the Wakefield Prize for French, Claudia Ball. Prize and the Richard Wilde Prize for History, Luca Edmondson. Senior Prize for Design, Spencer Bird and George Regal. Senior Prize for School Drama, Chloe Vigneron, and the Senior Prize for Theatre Studies, Andrew Taylor. Senior Prize for Economics, and the Senior Girls Prize for overall contribution to sport, Isabel Chamberlain. And the Wakefield Prize for Spanish, Madeline Stanford. The Senior Prize for Geography and the Senior Prize for PE, Reuben Copley, and the Senior Prize for Geology, James Greenwood. The L.R. Taylor Prize for Physics, Elizabeth Moore. The Wakefield Prize for German, Megan Clifton, and the Senior Prize for Music, Elizabeth Sladden. Prize for Singing, Eden Maguire. The Granville Morris String Prize, Giles Dobson, and the Peter Langwell Wind Prize, Hugh Holland. Prize for Religious Studies, Declan O'Neill. The LP Match Prize for Biology, Rufus Brooks, and the FR Danson Prize for Chemistry, Harry Welsh. Rose Bowl is awarded to the House, which has gained the best academic effort grades throughout the year. This year, for the third year running, the trophy is retained by Carys House. Awarded to the House, which has been deemed to have contributed the most during the year to the cultural life of the school. For their efforts and significant contributions on the stage, in the music halls and in the art department for both the school and for the House, the trophy has been awarded to Robertson House. Services to the school: Amelia Page, Christopher Park Johnson, Moritz Tyler Oppel, Max Twiddle, and Roxana Waller. Named after a true Sedberghian in every sense, who tragically lost his life in 2012. The cup is presented to a pupil who has joined the school in the sixth form and has demonstrated the most Sedberghian of values in their 2 years at school. This year, the award is given to a pupil who has contributed enormously to all sorts of areas of school life: a regular swing band performer and an outstanding musical soloist, a gold award recipient in the National Mathematics Challenge, a consistently high academic performance, table tennis captain, a tiny side captain, having only taken up rugby last year, and a young man who has embraced all of the many and varied opportunities afforded by a Sedbergh education. This year, the David Tate Memorial Cup is awarded to Jack Tao. Is awarded to the Sedberghian who can be best described as not a thread of gold, but pure gold. The cup was presented by John Leyburn's widow to be awarded annually at the headmaster's discretion to a very special Sedberghian. This year's recipient joined Sedbergh in Year 9 as a fantastically dynamic young man with dreams of playing rugby for England. He contributed massively to the life at school, made friends easily, worked hard and settled to boarding life. Just 5 months later, whilst out on a school run, he collapsed and suffered a major heart attack. He received CPR from Sedbergh School staff for over 40 minutes before being flown to Middlesbrough Hospital. His chances of survival were minimal. And yet, following time in a coma, he started to show signs of life. Having been in cardiac arrest for so long, he suffered serious brain damage as a result of lack of oxygen, and the prognosis for his long-term recovery was poor. Following major corrective heart surgery, the Department for Paediatric Neurology in Leeds thought he would never walk or talk again, let alone read or progress in full-time education, and certainly never play competitive sport. His determination to succeed, however, has simply blown away all medical predictions. After just 1 term away from school, he reintegrated back into Sedbergh as a full-time boarder. He worked hard on his recovery and was determined to succeed. He did not just learn to walk and talk again, he gained an outstanding set of GCSE grades just 2.5 years after his collapse. Since then, he's gone on to complete a full BTEC in Sport and Exercise Science and an EPQ qualification into the effects of brain injury on sportsmen and women. Having been told that he would never walk again, let alone run, he was determined to prove the doctors wrong. Just 18 months after his heart attack, he stepped out onto the rugby field, ready to represent the school and follow his passion. Through his recovery and commitment to his physical progression, he discovered athletics and his passion for sprinting. Not only is he now a committed athlete at school, he is an aspiring para-athlete with ambitions for Paralympic success in 2020 or 2024. He is part of the Para Development Academy based in Sheffield and has represented the north of England at the UK School Games. He has already earned his Gold Duke of Edinburgh award. On that dreaded day in 2015, this Sedberghian's life had nearly ended, and yet after 5 years in a boarding education, and through his unbelievable commitment to personal development, he will leave school the recipient of the John Angus Leyburn Cup, a Sedbergh Award for a most special pupil in the school. The honour and privilege to receive this award will not just be testament to his personal achievements and his promising future as a para-athlete, but as a reminder of his extraordinary journey to prove medical professionals wrong. In addition, he has achieved this with a humility and a grace rarely found in one so young. The recipient of the John Angus Leyburn Cup is Henry Ackroyd.
you.